Hey everybody, I'm back with a little condensed tour of my drum room. I hope you'll join me for a moment and check this out. So I'm going to start with some memorabilia. Let me just flip my camera around here and we'll get down to some fun stuff here. I'm going to start with this area right here. This is my little shrine to my pal Charlie Watts. That's a pair of Charlie's sticks that he gave me, I want to say in 1999 at a sound check, at a Stone sound check. He took them right out of his stick bag and gave them to me as a keepsake, which of course I treasure. This is a cymbal that Charlie signed for me at a rehearsal in Boston in 2002. It's a 16-inch Zildjian crash that I brought to the gig, to the rehearsal for him to check out, that he didn't end up liking, so he signed it and gave it to me. Lots of stuff like that. It's a little drum set that my daughter gave to me, a little Charlie, little model toy kit, and Charlie bobblehead. This photo of Charlie and I was taken in New York in 1998, January 1998, so 25 years ago. The first time I was invited to a Stones rehearsal. And during that time, I presented him with an award, a Zildjian Lifetime Achievement Award. And so you can see there's a shadow box with a cymbal signed by Armin Zildjian in there that I presented to Charlie. Some pics with Charlie and Ronnie Wood's names on them. Business card, Cheech McGee, the late great Cheech McGee. A receipt from when I worked at E114 in Boston in 1981 when Ian Stewart came in and bought some equipment for Charlie and bought a bunch of gear for the whole band. But they were rehearsing out at Longview Farm for the Tattoo U tour, and I recognized Ian and cornered him. No, he bought a bunch of gear. We had a nice conversation. He was quite a lovely man and a character. I'm glad I got to meet him. Some more things here. This was a cymbal that was signed by a really important man in my life, the late great Armin Zildjian. It's a 1940s A. Zildjian cymbal that we found in a cabinet along with several hundred or 1,000 of these cymbals. Brand new, unused, made in the 1940s. And I gave a set of these, I presented a set to Ringo Starr and to Charlie around this time, 1995, 1997. And anyway, this cymbal Armin gave to me and he signed it to my friend Johnny D, Just Stay As Good As You Are. It's very special. Obviously. This past week was 20 years since Armin passed away, and he was, you know, I'm fortunate to say that I'm one of the few people still around that knew him well and actually worked for him. This was from Armin's desk. It was always a funny situation to get a note from Armin with this stamped on top, important shit, a couple of his business cards. Some cymbals signed by some drummer friends, Vinnie Colaiuta, Adam Nussbaum. His nickname for me was the Ever Dangerous Mr. D, so he signed it Mr. Ever Dangerous. Steve Gadd, of course, had to sign this, John, You're the Worst. I have a lot of good friends in the business. This is signed by none other than Ginger Baker, Billy Bob Thornton, and the late, great Mitch Mitchell. Treasure all these very much. Let's see, what else? Cool little director's chair, Zildjian director's chair from probably the 70s or 80s. This room I have a whole bunch of memorabilia that I will eventually have up on my walls, but it's about 40 or so gold and platinum records from my years working at Drum Workshop in Zildjian. I think I might have missed, I had a Drum Workshop card in there as well. Let me go back here for 1 second. Oh, yeah, so that's my E. Wurlitzer business card. A couple of old Zildjian cards, my last Zildjian card as vice president, and a DW card that I came across. How about that? Anyway, so back to the memorabilia in here. Gold and platinum records. I had all these on my walls at Zildjian. And now they're just kind of here, waiting to be put on my walls here, which I will do. But I'm very proud of them. A lot of great memories from a lot of great friends and bands in this lot here. This gong was signed by all the members of The Who. It belonged to Jody Linscott, the percussionist. And she cracked it, so I brought her a new one and took this with me. And then years later went back to see them again and had all the members sign it. Pete Townsend, Roger Daltrey, John Entwistle, Zach Starkey, Rabbit. Jody signed it later on another occasion, and I will eventually get Simon Phillips to sign it, and maybe even Kenny Jones, make it complete. Got some old vintage cymbals in here, a few new ones as well. That one up front is an old Zinn, believe it or not, but there's a collection of vintage Zildjian and Paiste cymbals in there. My snare drums, quick glance at my snare drum collection, a Rogers Power Tone, some Ludwigs, an Acrolite Superphonic, Jazz Fest. My beautiful Gretsch, somewhat tarnished, 24 karat gold plated snare. Love that. This is a Sonar signature anniversary snare, Horst Link anniversary snare that was given to Vic Firth. A WFL snare that was Vic's, a Dresden snare, a Slingerland artist model snare, one piece maple shell, a Premier snare drum, and a couple of Gretsch sets in here. This is my practice kit, set up left-handed obviously. 1975 white marine pearl kit with the chrome over brass snare. I use a Zoom mixer when I practice and run my music through it, and my my drums are mixed through it as well. Another something to point out is this great little drum throne made by Gibraltar. It's called the Skinny Throne. Lightweight, but super heavy duty and dependable. I have one of these in my trap case as well, ready for gigs. And I use this one at home. It's fantastic. Some Shure microphones on the drums. And yeah, so it's a 75 white marine pearl kit. These are all what you'd call USA custom drums. All my Gretsch drums are vintage and were made at a time when Gretsch only made one line or series. So, you know, I would just call them Gretsch drums, but now they'd be USA custom. This is a maple kit. I've used this on many gigs. My little tribute to Charlie with my DW matching snare. It's a 13, 16, 22. Most of these kits are 13, 16, 22, you'll see. And this was a 1969 kit. It was the first year Gretsch went to the stop sign badge, a transition year. They were still making round badge drums, but this was when you first started to see the stop sign badge come in. So this has been identified as a 69/70 kit. I think one or two of the drums are from 1970. Bunch of Gretsch monster hi-hat stands all throughout the house. I have, I think, about 14 or 15 of these in my collection. I'm kind of a freak about these. I love them. Made by Wahlberg and Auger in Worcester, Mass., who also made all these Buck Rogers snare stands, original Buck Rogers snare stands, and these original flat bass cymbal stands. Yeah, all right. So we'll move on. Quick shot of this timpani that belonged to Vic. He had this in his house as a little practice timpani. Some of his rototoms, and this very rare Remo timpani rototom. And this particular one, I think they only made a few, and this one was a prototype, I believe. Great little drum. Here I have a Rogers mid-60s holiday kit, black diamond pearl. And the snare drum is a power tone, matching black diamond pearl, but I believe from the early 60s. So it did not come with this kit. And I'll move over to my Ludwig Oyster Blue Pearl bowling ball kit, 1969, last year, the Keystone badge. The snare drum is a 65 Superphonic. I got this separately from the kit. It's in beautiful condition, beautiful drum, 65 Superphonic. My Gretsch Peacock Flame kit. I want to say this kit is from 1970. Chrome over brass snare drum, 5-piece kit, 16, 16 floor tom, 12 and a 13 monotom, 22-inch bass drum. Let's move on over. This is my black nitron kit. This is mid-70s, I want to say 75. I've probably gigged the most with this drum set. 13, 16, 22. That's a wood snare that came with a different kit that I'll tell you about in a minute. And that's a unique, very rare gold wrap that Gretsch offered, I believe, only for a year or two, 1970 or so. My Black Diamond Pearl, 1962, just celebrated a big birthday. 13, 16, 22 with a matching snare. The name band kit, of course, it's a round badge because it is that old. On to my Midnight Blue Pearl kit. And this kit, I believe, is a 1970 kit. Has the stock metal hoops that they offered on their drums back then. 13, 16, and a 22. This kit was rewrapped from that gold that I showed you over here. That snare drum came with this kit, and they were all that gold wrap. Gretsch was nice enough to rewrap these in Midnight Blue Pearl for me, and also gave me that beautiful matching snare drum to go with it. That was in 2009, so the drum is considerably newer than the rest of the drums, but matches perfectly, sounds beautiful. This is a 1964 Aqua Flame round badge kit. 20-inch bass drum on this one, 13 into 16. Tom-toms, matching snare. Great sounding little kit. This was the first, this was the only drum set I had for many years. When I moved back from Los Angeles in early 1989, I did not have a drum set. And a friend of mine found these for me and took them in trade at his music store, and I bought them at a song. I'll just leave it at that. And I've somewhat restored them, but this was my one and only kit for many years. I've since built upon my collection, you could say. This is my most recent Gretsch acquisition. I bought this just this past year, 2022, from my pal Dan Peterson. It's a mirror chrome kit. I'm trying to find a good angle for you. They only offered this kit for 1 year, this finished, 1970. So all these drums are 1970, except this guy, which I'll tell you about. But this kit came with a 13, 14 mounted tom, 16 by 18 floor tom, and a matching wood snare. That's an actual 10-lug wood shell snare, not a chrome over brass, which is pretty rare that you'd find a 10-lug wood shell snare. They're usually 8 lugs. All my other that I have here in this room, all the other wood snares I have are 8 lugs. So, but anyway, it came with this 18, and I just couldn't really make it work. So Gretsch was nice enough to make this 16 by 16 and the matching mirror chrome. So I do gig out on this kit. I had been gigging for a few months with it, with the 13 and the 16 and the 22. And I left the 14 and the 18 at home. So my usual 4-piece setup. And give you a front view of that kit. It's a beauty. The hoops I put on myself, I had these, it did come with metal hoops. That was standard at the time. But I had these silver sparkle inlay hoops lying around the house that I put on instead of the black inlay that came with it. I think it really makes it look great. Some people don't like the metal hoops, but I like to keep the drums as close to period authentic as I can. This kit actually had metal hoops that I took off and put these wood hoops on. They probably, I guess if I had to admit it, do sound better with the wood hoops, but I do like the look of those metal hoops. That's just me. Okay, some friends from across the pond here. My Premier kit. This I believe to be a mid-70s. It's a resonator kit in red, and a beautiful red covering. Great condition, great sounding drums, metal snare, 13, 14 mounted toms, 16 by 16. All these kits, when I play out, when I use them, I play them as 4-piece kits, usually with a 13-inch tom, if there's 2 mounted toms on it. This Ajax kit, it's a pretty new addition, early 60s. Ajax, of course, was a sort of somewhat budget line made in England, and Ringo started off on these drums. I believe Charlie did, and some other well-known drummers. You see old photos of them playing Ajax. Great little history behind these drums. And of course, Heyman, unique and pretty well-known British brand from the late 60s into the mid-70s. I'm not sure what year this kit is. It's hard to determine, but I'd venture to say early 70s. Matching snare, great drums. You can see, of course, the lug is reminiscent of, in those days, the Camco lug, which later became the DW lug. But they are quite a bit different when you really look closely at them. You'll see. So that's the drum collection. This is a marimba that was owned by Vic Firth, a Leedy. Vic got this in the 40s, I think around 1946, and we had it restored last year. It sounds beautiful. Don't ask me to play it because I can't. I'll give you one more little sweeping shot. The drum room. Gives me great inspiration to come down here and just look at these drums. Okay. I'm going to show you one little bit of more piece of memorabilia. This is a splash cymbal that I asked Ringo to sign for me in 1995, the first time I met him, which he was kind enough to do, because a few years later he stopped signing things like this. So that's a very special piece of memorabilia. And that about wraps it up. I didn't really get into a lot of the cymbals that I have on this one, and I will do that another time. Maybe make a special, do a special tour of my cymbal collection. But for now, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and stay tuned for more cool drum stuff. All right. Thanks a lot. See you soon.